Who knew there would come a time when the mighty river of Euphrates would actually start drying up? Yes, the ancient prophecies and the whispers of ominous warnings of impending doom have now spread throughout the land. The part of the river that flows through Iraq has already started declining, as the people in Iraq who entirely depended on this river's water face one of the worst droughts they've ever seen. While the water level is much higher in the Euphrates during April and May, the river now faces lower levels. But why is it happening? Are the people who connect it drying up with the end of the world right about it? The phenomenon of this river drying up is complex, and not one reason can be blamed for it. Say it be the overuse of water resources or the construction of massive dams. But the problem is there, and generally speaking, the problem is humans. To be honest, these dams and other structures built specifically to use up the water of the Euphrates look more like monuments to humanity's hubris. The river is dying. The riverbed now looks more like a pond. But that's not all. The Iraqi Ministry of Water Resources has even warned that the river could dry entirely by 2040. For the longest time, it's been the major source of water to countries including Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. However, Turkey, with the most control over it, has used the water from the Euphrates the most, while the piece of the river present in Iraq has been affected the most. Being one of the longest rivers in the world, the Euphrates also works as a division between the east and west. A barrier that might have been involved in shaping some major events, including wars and invasions. But now it's all going away, and it'll affect not just a few people, but entire countries. And for those who think that it started drying up all of a sudden, know that the Euphrates was already drying many years ago. Along with massive dams, this river has also seen the misuse of its water, weird water policies, and on top of that, droughts. At the moment, about 7 million people are affected by this phenomenon, and it's also forced over 800 families to leave their villages that were located around the river. The history. The Euphrates River has enjoyed importance over hundreds and thousands of years. It was the one source that became the reason why we humans are able to cultivate crops today. Historically speaking, this river holds a very important place because it was the main source behind the creation of the Fertile Crescent. This was the part of ancient Mesopotamia where agricultural practices were said to have been born or invented. Clean water for the crops was resourced from the Euphrates, and these methods of growing things later spread all around the world. The history of the Euphrates goes back about 450,000 years, and researchers have discovered shocking things, including the remains of the Homo erectus that were buried in the bed of the Euphrates. Not just that, there have even been discoveries where stone artifacts from ancient times were found. But what's even more important, and maybe even terrifying, is the fact that the Euphrates has been mentioned in the Bible. The records state that the river originates from one of the rivers of heaven. And that's not all. Some ancient prophecies have stated that this river would dry up by the end of the world. These predictions might be true. Since the river started drying up, researchers have found several mysterious things in its surroundings. There have been discoveries of ancient ruins as well as a cave. And recently, a video circulated around the internet stating that a mountain of gold had emerged from the Euphrates. But the question is the time really near? That remains a mystery. It looks like the river might say goodbye for good soon. The disputes over its water that led to different agreements and treaties between the three countries will no longer be of any use once the water's all gone. Because, at this moment, the future of the Euphrates seems more uncertain than ever. It's a dark and foreboding omen, and might also be a warning that our actions have consequences. We as humans are ruining the world to the point that the end might really be just around the corner. The countries in charge of the river should be questioned. Why is it that the natural resource is being stored up to the point that the people who live off of Euphrates are now forced to move and find somewhere new to stay? This also signals that the drying up of Euphrates is just the beginning of something much darker and more ominous. And at the end of the day, the Euphrates is just another example of human negligence and greed. The prophecies have already come true, and ancient remains have already been found. So, what's next? We'll find out soon.